Trap squad, 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 trap squad. Hey, clickbaity political. Yeah, thirst trap, trap squad, squirrel squad. Our mission is critical to speak the truth to the masses. We here for the fight. We ain't started, but we here to finish it. Sick and tired of seeing the privilege. Take advantage of the weak and the innocent. So we let a voice be heard. Every single weeknight, unapologetic. Black people, despite this white supremacist system that we live through on a daily, we still throwing up those acorns cause we represent clickbaity. Trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, let me hear ya. Trap squad, trap squad, throw those squirrels up if you with it. Trap squad, trap squad, yeah I see you, yeah I see you. Trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, thirst trap, trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, let me hear ya. Trap squad, trap squad, throw those squirrels up if you with it. Trap squad, trap squad, yeah I see you, yeah I see you. Trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, thirst trap, trap squad, trap squad, trap squad.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap, all the way live from all over the country. I am one of your three hosts, Marcus Farrell, coming at you directly from the great city of Hapeville, Georgia. And I'm joined by my brother, Mayor Mondale Robinson, and also my brother, Pastor Ben. Pastor Ben, Mayor Mondale, how y'all doing?
Hey, man. Doing good, man.
Living. So what else does it matter?
That's it.
Listen, that's really important. I'm happy to see you back, my man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. It's been a little crazy, but I'm here.
That's what's
good.
up, man. That's what's up. So, and Benjamin, I believe Pastor Ben is not showing, but he's telling. Today.
Yeah, man. I'm. Can y'all hear me? Okay, man. I just need to be off camera for today's episode. I wasn't gonna miss it, so I said, well, at least me just be off camera and participate.
I mean,
Yeah, no, man, it's good.
It ain't about showing face.
It's about the information that's spread, man. I hope you can still manage to get some of our awesome Trap Squad members comments up as we go.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So because y'all know how we do. We want to rock with y'all, man. Hey, listen, Mondale, we truly missed you. It came, we kind of got a little out of hand with my the Democrats thought process.
You think so? Nah.
I mean, that's just it is what it is.
Yeah, but it is super dope to see you back, man. And I'm gonna talk to you because I'm definitely thinking about running for office. As all this work that I'm doing on my channel is meant for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, I think can we get into something real quick? Because now that Mondale's back, I always want to make sure that we address topics from different viewpoints, right? And I'm not even saying it's a different viewpoint. I want to go ahead and get into I want to talk to you, Mondale, about Chuck Schumer, and because you weren't here, and it's, in all fairness, I want to hear your viewpoints on this thing. And I'll set it up like this, and it's not to even be antagonistic, even though we can bump heads all the time. But I'm tired of the Democratic Party. I am, and when it comes down to Black people and Trump's spending bill, is not going to help Black folks out. It's just not. I don't care what anybody says. Like, it's not, right? And for Chuck Schumer to kind of sort of not fight the way that he didn't fight, for the Democratic elite and gatekeepers to bring up Rahm Emanuel again as a person who's thinking about running for president, I can't. It's a toxic situation, right? And I'm a really big fan of leaving toxic situations, right? And when it comes down to Black voters, man, and when it comes down to Black people, I'm sort of leaning the independent route and holding our vote. But I want to get your viewpoint on all of these thoughts because it's important that people hear your viewpoint on this. Your volume up. Your
Yeah,
volume.
let me unmute myself. Yeah, I think listen. So there two things, three things, and seven things can be true. First of all, Chuck Schumer, his book tour, and the establishment Democrat can all take the same boat to hell, and that's how I feel about that. The idea that we see Republicans doing things to stop, to buck the democratic process when they're in the minority, that we don't see the fight out of Democrats, even when we're not trying to be evil. Let me explain what I'm saying. Barack Obama had an entire year where he was supposed to appoint another justice. Chuck Schumer in the majority didn't even fight as hard as he should have fought then when he let Mitch McConnell block that and gave Donald Trump the leg up to begin to start appointing, 3 justices. So I think, there's what happened to my camera? Hold on a second, y'all. There's no disconnect for me, if I'm being honest, between the lack of fight I saw in Chuck Schumer then, now, and also the entire establishment. So I'm not a person who is gonna sit up here. I have no capping in my bones for the Schumers of the world. I think Chuck Schumer, like the rest of the establishment, will never fight for Black people as hard as they should. He will always find a way to be comfortable with the Elon Musk, and also the other whiteness that exists in our politics. So if that was you was talking about, or you were going off about on the last show, that's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Here's what I would say though: the idea of holding our vote for independent candidates or pulling independent candidates weaken where we should be. And what I mean by that is all your energy, Marcus, and this is my opinion, should be in trying to find progressives to run and challenge all of these bastards in the primary. When I'm looking at leadership or what Democrat leadership should be doing, it should be how we see. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Corey Bush and Bowman's podcast, what they're saying. That's how we should be talking. We should be doing and showing up how we see our sister from Texas doing and showing up, talking about Crockett. To me, these are people not in leadership, AOC and Bernie. These are people not in leadership, but they are acting as if they're the only people that know how Democrats should be showing up in this moment. And if I don't see them, then I don't think it's happening as it pertains to fighting a progressive fight from the Democratic side. That is still not enough for me to abandon the party and go with some third party candidate that's not going to be able to push Blackness forward because they're not going to win an election statewide or on a national level.
I think you just pointed out some fair points, and I've been going back and forth with it. The thing that I want to like bring across to you is that like there's been a certain aspect as we get into our sister Jasmine Crockett, who I think is amazing. There is a certain aspect of how long do we take abuse, and this is sort of personal and also just looking at the community itself, right? How long do we take abuse before, because the definition of sanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? And when it comes down to it, like when we hear about leadership, right, in the Democratic Party and the conversations that they're having, even though Mondale, you and I are privy to some different conversations that happen outside the public, where there is real legitimate conversations about how the Democratic Party strengthens itself and turns into a more progressive place. There is a personal aspect that I have to this thought process, and that is I will never forget the DNC and Bernie Sanders and how that went down, right? I can never forget that. I'm not sitting up here saying like advocating for Bernie Sanders with that. What I'm advocating for is the last major progressive push. The same people are still sort of in power, right? And why not take the long, hard road of, okay, like for instance, my opinion, I think the Congressional Black Caucus also needs to withhold its vote for certain things unless certain things are done for the community, right? But if Apex says jump, there's a vast majority of them are going to say, well, hi, right? And I got a problem with that. So at what point do we, as a community, start saying, okay, look, this is not working, right? We have to make either Democrats accountable to us for progressive values and Black values, which I think Black values are progressive values, or we leave, right? And I think that needs to be seen in some kind of tangible way, because unless we do that, there's going to literally be an expectation. Mondale, listen, I was on a phone call at the end of last week, and I got quiet on it because they didn't know I was on the call, right? But I was on the call with some very powerful Democrats, right? And somebody just three-wayed me in, and I'm listening to some of the most powerful Democrats in the nation talk, and their thought process literally is more right, more moderate, more of the same, but let's just add a couple of talking points, and then let's get away from talking about issues of color. Let's get away from talking about issues of race and of gender, which in some cases I understand, some cases I don't, but I really don't understand it because that's your base of voters. So how do you expect to strengthen that? And if this is the direction we're going, I just fundamentally think that I can't be a part of that.
Yeah, listen, I again, I'll sit here and say that, you know, if we're looking for leadership from the Democratic Party establishment, people who are comfortable while the rest of us are stressing, then we are never going to find what we're looking for. My problem with Bernie Sanders' call to progressives to run as independents, my call with, you know, the idea of being independent is, where does it lead us as it pertains to power? And not power for evil or power just because we want power, but power so that we can we can forge ahead on this idea of equity and also opportunity for those who are usually left out. Here's what I do know though. I for me, every time I hear, and maybe this is a stretch, but this is what I hear. When I hear, you know, progressives talk about leaving the party or going somewhere else, it reminds me of people telling Black people to go back to Africa. Like why the fuck would I leave? Excuse my language, Ben, Marcus. Why would I leave America when my blood is the reason the trees and the grass is so green? Meaning it's so rich. This country is rich because of Black blood. My ancestors didn't fight or continue to fight for so long just for me to run out on my leg of the race. If we're in a marathon, or if we are in not a marathon, a relay race, because we are in fourth place on the fourth leg, I don't drop the baton, or I don't get to not try. So this is my turn to get the baton and push the party further where I need them. And it is going to take all of us to push the establishment out of the party, or push them not to try to chase this, you know, this elusive white vote that they think they can win over by talking like Republicans or acting and showing up like Republicans. Because what will happen is, the moment the rest of us progressives leave and become independents, then this party will become more conservative, more mediocre, more milquetoast, more moderate. And that does nobody any good to have two parties acting like the Republican Party, even if the Democrats are showing up Republican-like. So we are obligated as people who have become the power source of the Democratic Party, because there's no Democratic Party without the Black vote. So for us to take that, to unplug from that power source, that institution that already exists, is to damn sure push us back 20, 30, 40 years at least.
Okay, that's fair, man. I look, I already think we're 20, 40 years back at this point, right? I do, right? And you know, we can respectfully agree to disagree on this topic, right? Because I know you understand where I'm coming from, and I definitely understand where you're coming from. But when it comes down to, like, you know, the electorate, and I mean, you know, I'm a little hard pressed to agree with you on comparing the ancestors to the party. And the reason why is because, first off, the Democratic Party and how they felt about Black folks went for a while, but in the past. But more importantly, it's the separation of a freedom fight, right? And I think the fight for freedom, when we're fighting, like, I don't want to have a fight for freedom in the people who are naturally supposed to be representing us as an entity. It should be organic and baked into the sauce, right? It has to be cooked up and served and given back to us. No, it has to be in the ingredients. And the ingredients right now, as it stands, is, I mean, me and Ben touched on this last week. the ingredients right now, as it stands, is we have a black misleadership class that definitely has their addiction to neoliberalism. Neoliberalism and also neoliberalism is a smaller, less deadlier version than Reaganism and trickle down economics, but it's sort of on the same principle where, you know, the rich get taken care of and they're supposed to take care of the poor people. And there's no conversations about the social benefits. And I know this is not Europe, but as Bernie says all the time, and by the way, this is not a, because I don't bring this up in a place where it's like Bernie Sanders said it, so I say it. No, I've been thinking about this for a minute. Also, I'm hesitant on if Bernie and AOC bring it up, then it turns into a straight economic / let's go for the Latino vote, and black folks are still behind because there were aspects of that in 2020 when it came down to the Bernie Sanders campaign, right? Where it was like, we're just going to focus on these Latinos, right? Look, I agree. The structure is there, but then, you know, this is America where, you know, we've had the Whigs, we've had multiple different kinds of parties that had power. And it just might be one of those pivotal moments in history right now where it's just time for us to figure out something else that's actually working for the American people. And I just don't see the Democratic Party being that right now.
Yeah, I think let me, Ben, I'm sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
Well, no, go ahead, but let me jump in there after you.
All right, yeah. So what I was gonna say, just a point of clarity, Marcus. I wasn't concerned the ancestors to the party. I was concerned the party to America for its long history.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And us not leaving America because of what our ancestors given. So I would say, have poured into America, and the same true about what our ancestors poured to the Democratic Party. I hear you, and I think anybody that believes that the Democratic Party is delivering us what we need right now in this moment is blind, because it's not happening. I will say though, what we see from the black people who are part of the establishment is nothing different than why W. Du Bois turned his back on his own thought process, meaning he was the one to introduce the black world, to the talented 10th. But later in his life, he was also the one to say the talented 10th would sell out the masses because of their proximity to whiteness. So when you call out the black misleadership class, you're basically saying what David Du Bois said about why he don't believe or buy into this idea that the talented 10th will ever be enough to save us all. It's going to take all black people working in a cohort. And when I say black people, I'm talking about black loving people, black adjacent people, showing up in a way that will benefit us. And I think you said something that was powerful in your speeches there, Marcus, when you said on your statement, when you said that the Democratic Party is not talking about social benefit or poor people. The party is not a poor people's party. You can't name one campaign where any Democratic Party was talking about poor people, or any Democratic candidate was talking about poor people. They're talking about this elusive middle class when we know no majority of black people in this country don't find themselves in middle class. And I would argue that most people in this country aren't in middle class, because how can you be middle class when you are one paycheck away? And I think that's about 76% of the population. That's one paycheck away from losing their houses or going bankrupt. So I think the idea of middle class, because people want to feel a certain way, people put themselves there. But actuality, they're not in the middle class in this country. Most people are working poor people. And we don't have campaigns that are addressing the problems of working poor people. This is why you see the disdain. I was writing Black Male Voter Project's 2024 annual report today, and in the CEO, the letter from the CEO from me, I said the lessons from 2024 should be that anyone carrying on with the traditional way of campaigning should be seen as a hurdle to equity. Should be as it pertains to black men. They should be seen as someone acting as a blunt tool for that will never give us what we desire and are owed as it pertains to America's constitutional cry out that everybody is created equal and deserve right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because we can't get the pursuit of happiness or equity through traditional methods. And I think what I'm arguing is within the Democratic Party, we're obligated to politically punch people, not physically punch people, but politically punch people in their gut and remind them that their way of politicking only produces a small portion of black men at the voting booth. You cannot tell me your way works when you can't even turn out more than 30% of black men that are registered to vote in this country in a
That part.
consistent way.
That part. I was going to say about this. I'm stuck between what you're saying, Marcus, and agreeing with you on some core elements, but also disagreeing, and not, I guess, not so much with you, but the broader sentiment, which still is pervasive. We saw a comment in the comment section saying, you know, withhold our votes. Yeah, no, not in 2026. Not in
Can I
2026.
can I clarify? Let me
Mhm.
clarify real quick. It's not withholding the votes. It's withholding supporting Democrats.
Even
It's
the progressive
different.
ones?
Yeah, like
Even the progressive ones?
so no, and here's what I'm saying. If there's a progressive Democrat that shares your values, I think anybody in any party, if you're a Republican and you like what a progressive person is saying, support that person. But it's the blind support of Democrats, and then also the blind tangible actions of progressive people to actually run as Democrats. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there needs to be more independent. First off, there needs to be more. It's crazy, and I'll let you get it back, Ben. There needs to be more independent media. There needs to be more independent candidates. There needs to be more independent votes. We need to be independent. That's just in my opinion. I'm not saying don't vote, right? I'm saying that there has to be a way that the Democrats can see, oh no, this person could turn out 100,000 people when only 50,000 people showed up. It's just that he's running as an independent. How the hell did that happen? Versus the split down the middle or three-way tie, and us as black people automatically supporting the Democrat.
Yeah. Well, let me still follow up there. No, in 2026, I think that America needs to have one goal, and that's to chase every MAGA traitor out of office. It's got to be that clear. And the reason I know it's got to be that clear is because they are destroying everything. And if we don't check them in 2026, then we're going to find ourselves, you know, feeling good about our vote and having nothing left of a democracy. Like they don't need much more time than between now and 2026 to do the kind of damage they're getting ready to do. Now, where I agree with you is, though, I think, and we said this last week, black folks have to seize their own political power from within and from without the Democratic Party. We've got to control and command our own destiny. We need to control and command our own voting consultants, mechanisms, our own political action committees. We need to be able to own that separate. We need to be able to reach. If 14% of America is black people, somewhere around 40 million black people, and not one organization that I know of black people can reach 10% of us.
So I'll say, you know, it's not, and I hear what you're saying, but for instance, go ahead, man, finish your point, then I'm gonna go.
The point is this, is that we got to do both and at the same time. We absolutely have to wrestle away black power and solidify black power in the hands of the most decentralized black movement that we can possibly create. Doesn't need to be a single leader, nobody. No, everybody knows what to do. Everybody got, you know, we just need to rally the troops together and do what we know to do and do it together as black people and secure our own power, right? Simultaneously, all the, you know, Marcus, if you're going to run as an independent, then that's going to be something that we're going to support you in, like 100%, right? But I'm going to tell everybody else, y'all go and flood the Democratic Party closest to you, and you snatch away their authority because they have none. They don't have a mandate. They barely survive, and they don't have any right to assert their theories. None. They don't have a right to assert their consultants. Everybody who was a part of the last three elections, the 2 losses to Donald Trump need to be gone. You don't get to graduate up. What is it? Fail up and be the consultant for the next set of presidents and the next set of candidates and congressional leaders. And you sure as hell don't need to continue to be the consultant for black people, charging black people an obscene amount, black candidates an obscene amount of money and giving them milk toast delivery, right? That's money that need to go to black consultants. So I think we got to do both the most preeminent issue for me right now, though, is we got to chase these traders out 2026.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. I think, and I think, you know, that happens. I think, and I know I sound like a broken record. I know the squirrel game is tired of hearing this, but the primary process is not being utilized properly by us as progressives. Like the idea. So here's my thing, Marcus. Here's my fear when I
already know where you're going.
Yeah, my fear of telling people to be independent or deregister. I saw somebody said a mass deregistration from the Democratic Party. What happens then we lose the opportunity to participate in the primary process, which means establishment Democrats will control what the primary process look like, and then they become the candidates. And there's no future for progressive ideas with establishment candidates. We see people like William Bell doing what they did to Cori Bush when we don't participate in a way that we need to in primaries. So trying to nuance ourselves into saying, hey, I'm still telling you to vote, but don't vote against the Democrats that are bad, is a hard thing to do, especially when you consider one of the smartest political candidates, politicians I know, is Rashida Tlaib. But what happened was she was also about that you ain't getting our vote Biden. As a Palestinian, I understood where she was coming from. I still understand their anger with Biden and the Harris administration. I think though what they underestimated was what are you saying? Like how do you choose? We look at elections as victories, not as choosing our opponents. So anybody that's Palestinian should have known that it's better to punch at Joe Biden than try to punch at Donald Trump. Like there's no touching Donald Trump with the Palestinian point of view. It's not going to work. There's no victory there for us. So I think when we look at elections as we're choosing our opponents, then I think we are doing ourselves a better service than saying I'm picking this person as a victory, right? So Kamala Harris winning the presidency is a fight that I would have chose over this fight with Donald Trump, because I would have been in that White House screaming at those people, whereas now there would never be an invitation to hear black men real complaints with the federal government from this administration. And I think we're not looking at elections in that manner. And we have the wrong glasses on. And I think that is going to set us back. And we can't afford like we talk in 2026 right now, right? But what about 2025 in Virginia, right? Virginia is a black state too, and people aren't remembering that they have constitutional elections in Virginia this in 2025. Right. And nobody's talking about what that could mean for how we redraw maps when it's time to redraw maps. Who's controlling the state legislature? Who's controlling the state senate? Who's controlling the gubernatorialship? All of those elections are happening, and we need to be talking about that and being smart about that. We also need to be talking about the fact that New Jersey, even though we won New Jersey, it was way closer than it ever had been, and they had a governor election this cycle right now in 2025 as well. So I think we need to train ourselves in a way to focus not on those what they call the shiny elections, the general elections, but where are the progressives, where are our efforts to train our voters, our base, to show up for primaries? How do we make the primaries a fuck you to the establishment? Excuse me, a F you to the establishment. What are we doing to do that? How are we showing how we can have real power?
If I could just say,
can I respond to both of y'all real quick?
Yeah, well, let me just insert one small thing though. When you mention though, and this is where I come with you 100%, Rahm Emanuel. Even when you mention Gavin Newsom, but when you mention Rahm Emanuel, that's the type of stuff that should make every black person question whether or not we should ever deal with the Democrats ever again.
Or we should make sure the Democrats know that you playing with fire.
Yeah, but
even playing with that idea.
So here's the problem that I have. First off, by no means am I saying do not vote, right? So let's not get that confused. That's something that I spent my career on. It's something that I value. I value the vote, right? 2027 Jacksonville mayor's election, we got to keep Donna Deegan. elected, right? 2026 is very important, but I'm traumatized, gentlemen. I'm traumatized, and I realize I'm traumatized, and I'm really big on my mental health now. I am. I'm bigger on my mental health than I am on damn near anything else in my life. And when you go through and you see so many primaries across the nation where establishment Democrat gets tossed APAC money, and progressive Democrat has nothing but good talking points and a decent team, right? And an amazing team. I start to want to fall back from the thought process that the Democratic primaries are fair, because they have not been, and we can take a factual look at that, right? We can take a scientific, political science viewpoint on progressives versus establishment in primaries, and what do we get every single time? We get a establishment candidate that comes out on top, right? Now we can look at the electoral math and all these races. Listen, one of the lowest turnouts that we've seen when it comes down to Democrats, especially, is the most recent election, and we can actually say, okay, you know what will bring those people out, right? My argument is, what will bring those people out, and also, are you going to be around? You're absolutely right, Ben. The most important thing is to get these maggots out of office in 2026, 2025, 2027, 2028, right? But here's the argument I have for you guys. The argument is, how can we do that when the people who have the deck stacked for them end up getting elected in a primary and then craps up the doggone general election because their talking points are weak, because nobody wants to show up, because they're afraid to say poverty, because they're afraid to say let's raise the minimum wage, because they're afraid to say this is the Democratic Party's standard quo, which I'm traumatized off of. We got to keep it real a little bit, right? So how do, now the question becomes, what's the best way that the establishment Democrat is nowhere near the general election? And if, Mondale, you say that a Democratic primary is the way, then I want to see that. If I'm saying that an independent, because in my mind, I'm gonna tell you like this, in my mind, like, because of the way that the numbers have been moving around, the way that the numbers have been moving around, people are turned off by the Democratic Party as it is right now. They are, right? Now, you bring in an independent candidate who is saying everything that they're supposed to say in the general election. That person might not only bring the Democrats that stayed at home last time, but even establishment Democrats that says, you know what, I wasn't excited about this guy because he ain't did nothing, but I'm excited about this person over here because he's expressing all of my values. Yes, I want a higher minimum wage in the city of Atlanta. Yes, right? And you might even get some Republicans who are like, man, you know what? The Trump administration just cut all the aid from my public school. An independent could possibly do that. A moderate Democrat is a greater chance of us losing to a Republican than a Republican is. Matters on the district, of course. This is not nationwide, but in general, right now, the Democratic brand is crap.
It is.
And unfortunately, like, we have to look, like, we have to not, I don't want to traumatize myself. I don't want to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We have to try other things, because as it stands right now, the playbook that has not been changed in 40 years is still the same. It's still the establishment Democrat, the Democrat that's been in office for 40 years. Sanford Bishop to the world, no offense to that brother. All the people who've been, James Clyburn, all of these people, right? These folks get reelected, and the deck is stacked for them. So how do we do something different?
The primaries, I don't think the deck is stacked for. I think this is why I get a little, I don't push back a little. I push back a lot, brother. Mainly because here's what I would say. If you look at, and I challenge anybody to go look at the turnout for James Clyburn in the primary. James Clyburn is in a district this is a majority Black district, or pretty high Black district, and majority of black men in the district have never voted for him. This is not, he's not, it's not stacked against him, but for how incumbency is always stacked for the incumbent. What I'm saying is nobody's participating in the primary, and we have to be honest about that. Like if we played in the primary, Clyburn wouldn't have. Clyburn, if people played seriously, progressive played seriously, and wanted to get rid of Clyburn, we would have been got rid of Clyburn. But nobody's truly trying to get rid of Clyburn in a way that's serious. And I think we're not being.
So Mondale, may I say this then?
Go ahead.
I think it's a fair thing to say that we need to start looking at particular locations and districts when it comes down to having this conversation, right? Because I can understand South Carolina, right? I can understand there being a low Democrat. Like I can understand somebody from the left challenging. I wish it was Marcel, even though he has some views that I don't like. I wish Marcel could have did what he did, right? Somebody, right? In certain places, this might be okay, right? But like in other places where I think about Nebraska, I think about hell, even Georgia, Arizona, right? Even though I think Arizona got them a great state, senator, U.S. senator in Gallego, right? And that's definitely an upgrade from Kirsten Sinema, right? I think that it's location, but I also think that we need to have a real conversation about the viability. See, here's the thing. Everybody always wants to have a conversation about the viability of the progressive. Can we start having conversations about the viability of the moderate?
I don't even have that conversation, because that conversation is grounded in racism, the electability conversation. I don't have that conversation.
Well, can we reverse it? No, listen to what I'm saying. Can we reverse that conversation now? Since we have all the political science in the world behind us in numbers, can we start having a conversation about the Democratic moderate and their viability to win elections?
Yeah, but I think when we do that, we're taking time and effort and resources away from talking about our platform. And I think
we gotta hate too, though, Mondale. You know, I gotta hate.
Listen, I think that strategy works in their world, like the negative campaigning, it works in their world. But if you're not playing their game and you're focused solely on your people, you're not spending money on media, you don't even got to worry about that. You can mention, of course, how Clyburn has never shown up, but Clyburn was just reelected in 2022, guys. Not just him in the primary. Listen to this: in the primary, Clyburn plus the person he was running against, total votes was like 54,725,000.
Wow.
Do you understand what I'm saying when I tell you people are being elected to Congress by people not participating? Only 54,700 people voted in that Democratic primary.
Which is why I say the move is to gather black folks to ourselves. And what do I mean by that? I mean, for us to be able to communicate to those people who just ain't gonna go vote because they have whatever the justification, the reason is. I think there's valid reasons. I think there's looking at the candidates, looking at Clyburn, right? They are the exact type of candidate that is designed to make sure as many people stay home as possible, right? And so if we look at it in terms of how we get our voice and get the voice of the people to the people and not have to go through Democratic consultants. Most of this is the gatekeeping in elections. And y'all tell me, y'all know better than me. The gatekeeping comes through the consultants. Some of the reason that Clyburn runs the way that he runs, some of the reason all these Democrats do exactly what they do, and they appeal to the moderates, is instead of appealing to black people, instead of appealing to progressives, is because that's what the consultant class has been running, like you said a few seconds ago, Marcus, for the last 40 years.
Hey, may I use my N-word now?
Nope.
Okay. These ninjas ain't going nowhere. No, they're not.
We can't if we get rid of them.
No, but see, here's the thing though. Like Mondale, I need you to be realistic, because you and me run in the same circles at points, right? Let's be realistic. When we talk about money, right? When we talk about who can feed themselves and do this work, when we talk about who can get these moderates out of the way, they pop up like little roaches, and they're everywhere. Right. And they know the tide is changing. if you look at CNN, if you look at Simone Sanders, if you look at MSNBC, if you look at all these people, all of a sudden everybody want to be progressive. All of a sudden everybody's switching their tone to working class values. All of a sudden everybody is doing these things, but we know that that's just a power play, right?
Exactly.
You can't have that same system and also have a system that benefits Americans, Black Americans specifically. You can't. It's impossible, right? You can't have a MSNBC fundamentally. What I'm starting to realize is that CNN, MSNBC, they can't fundamentally talk about working class issues and prioritize.
Right.
They fundamentally can't do that, right?
They think they can't, but they yes, you're right.
It's capped. They can't do both at the same time, and it doesn't work. And then there is the major pushback between high-ranking donors of the Democratic Party and actually pushing working class issues to this day. I was at the Democracy Alliance. There were some people who said we need change, and when somebody said, "Hey, yeah, we need people to start pushing higher wages," a couple of them billionaires, millionaires were like, "No, we don't need that." Right? Like, it is not. We're not doing the same thing, but can we table this because I want to move on to something else?
I mean, sure.
You're pulling around. It was getting good.
That was random. But
yeah, I was just ready to dig in. Can I say this last point though? To that point though, I hear you on the entrenched. You know, they're there. The power is there, and it seems like they can't be moved. And I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right. The billionaires are inherently going to want to keep wages low. But here's the play, if you ask me. There's two types of elites. There's the MAGA elites, and then there's the Democratic elites. The MAGA elites want to kill the Democratic elites. They want to impeach all of the Democratic elites. They want to imprison the Democratic elites. They want to make sure that the Democratic elites never get access to democracy or power ever again. And so if those Democratic elites think it's going to work out fine for them, then sure, go ahead and keep listening to the same people that made you lose the last time. But I think the Democratic elites, these economic elites, if they don't see it very clearly right now that they can't keep playing that same economic game alongside their fascist counterparts, then, I mean, hell, I guess democracy is as good as done. Because they're coming. I mean, what is a Democratic billionaire who genuinely believes in diversity and the LGBTQIA rights and genuinely believes in Mark Cuban? Let's take Mark Cuban. What is Mark Cuban was he just going to turn fast? I mean, I guess he could just turn fascist. But when you have a huge faction of America right now that's vying for their freedom, they're vying to take away Democrats' freedom. They're vying to take away Democrats' just everything. MAGA's not playing here. And I think the elites better wake up.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think I got to go back to it. Listen, I think we're giving too much power where we're giving too much real power to perceived power, right? And I'm not trying to discount the power of money because this is America. So I know what that means. But in politics, that's not guaranteed. Listen, the head of the CBC is Horsford, right? In a presidential election, they had a primary. He had a primary just like the presidential candidate did. Democratic primary. Horsford only got 34,000 votes, and the person running against him got 4,000. Guys, and 30,000 men in his district didn't vote at all. Black men, I'm talking about. I'm saying we've been hoodwinked to believe that the power is with these incumbents simply because they are incumbents. And also it always happens. What we're not doing though is saying, I'm gonna take a few thousand, 10,000 and text everybody in his district this. I'm gonna take this amount of money and I'm gonna knock on every
and make sure you text with Marcus Farrell.
So yeah, what I'm saying is I'm saying the way forward is work. And the work is not going to be easy, but the work is absolutely possible. And incumbency is not being challenged in a way that, with a real candidate or somebody running a real campaign, because they're trying to run campaigns that match or look like the incumbent, meaning They're trying to get on TV. They're trying to get on billboards. They're trying to get on radio, but they're not trying to get in people's community centers or reach people, is the reason we continue to get this same weak ass candidacy. Because I'm telling you, if Horsford knew that somebody progressive was spending so much money against his incumbents, and I'm not saying that he's not progressive, I'm just using him as an example. Somebody was running a progressive against him. I promise you, he wouldn't go to DC and say, and I'm not saying he does. I'm just, again, this is an example. He wouldn't go to DC and say, well, my base are not on fire about these progressive ideas. What he would say is, there ain't no way in the hell I'm gonna play with my primary because I've already heard from this many progressive and they already said this is the move.
I don't know, Mondale. Hold on.
I'm telling you.
Wait. I gotta push back on that last statement. Everything else you said was correct. But Horsefoot and also anybody else who is dealing with leadership in DC right now wouldn't say, I'm not going to push back. They wouldn't say anything at all. They would be quiet. He would be quiet.
I don't think so.
He would absolutely be quiet. What's the point of him saying my district doesn't want this? Like, he wouldn't, like, nobody does that, right? Like,
what do you mean? Hold on. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Can you say it clearer for me?
Yeah, no, you said that he would say if he knew a progressive was pushing against him, right, and spent all that money, right, and trying to spend money in his district pushing progressive issues, and then progressive issues came up in DC, and he would actually say he wouldn't say anything, or he would say something about the progressive issues. He wouldn't say anything. He would be quiet, right, because there's safety in being in silence. There's safety that he wouldn't push. He wouldn't be a progressive. He wouldn't turn progressive.
Sure, he would.
Oh, come on, Mondale. Who does that? Who does that?
Everybody, bro, did you listen? Not a single I'm gonna tell you how powerful progressive ideas are. Not a single candidate. Do you remember the Democrats were debating Medicare for all? They were scared to say it.
I remember.
But one candidate said it and would not give up his delegates, even after he cheated on his wife, who was suffering from cancer. He was from North Carolina. I'm talking about John Edwards. Come on now, remember that. When he said it, and in order to get his candidate and to get his delegates, you had to say you're going to support Medicare for all. And everybody in that was left started talking about Medicare for all. 2020, nobody was talking about reparations. Kamala said something about reparations. Everybody started talking about reparations.
Hey man, it must be fun being a Republican right now. The reason why I bring that up, not just because they have power, but it must be fun watching moderate Democrats stop them from losing. It must be like watching from the outside in, knowing that man, all these guys have to do is talk about the shit that we are destroying, and they would blow us out the water every single time. But these dummies in leadership over here are so addicted to trying to be like us, but light, that they can't. It must be the funnest lifestyle. Man, we need a third party, man.
But see, that's why I feel like it's
right now. Hold on. But right now, it might, people say it's not feasible, a Labor Party or something, because as it stands right now, man, there's too many working people. I love the Democrats, especially my local Democrats. My local Democrats are great. I had to tell somebody, a very powerful person in the labor movement, because this powerful person said, hey, I hate all Democrats. All Democrats suck. And I was like, no, all Democrats absolutely do not suck, right? There are Democrats that are the most progressive people that would make Green Party members look like they are conservative, right? There are elected officials, right? It's just that they tend to get isolated, and they tend to have to vote for things that make absolutely no sense, right? Where's their home? Where's the home? Realistically, Mondale, where's the home? Where's the home to the 30,000? Where's the home to the 30,000 black men that didn't vote in that election? Where's the home to those 15% of black men in Texas that voted for Trump? Where's the political home?
That don't even exist. Where you get the number?
Or however many, all the black men, whatever small amount or whatever that left the Democratic Party. Where's the home for progressives who stayed at home? Where's the home for the people who stayed at home during the last election because they were just not turned on by policies that were put out by either party? Where's their political home?
But aren't
Yeah.
we talking about the difference between structure and people? Because if we're talking about the Democrats as people, run them out. Chuck Schumer down as much as we can, right? We can't do it all at the same time, not all of them up for election, but as we can, we do that. But in terms of the structure, I don't see the Democrats are not in a position to maintain control over their own structure. None of the
You don't think
established.
so, Mondale? You agree with that?
When we're talking about on the local side, we're talking about like we're
In
candidates,
general,
candidates in
in
power are
general.
candidates in power. I'm talking about your local committee. I'm talking about the local
Oh.
committees that know those kind of easily persuadable things. And I am also talking about these consultants. I'm curious what's stopping people from exposing the failure of the consultants and demanding that those dollars not be redirected to the same losers who lost this time. Like that's a major play.
Yeah, listen. I think for me, I think what happens is I think people say not voting is a vote for Republicans, but I don't think people saw it that way. I mean, like people who don't do politics every day, people who are really just like trying to survive. Because you named Texas. Texas had a record number 18.6 million uh registered voters, right? In 2024. That was their record number. They jumped up by like 1.6 million new voters in Texas, but they also lost 6% of voter turnout. So those people who didn't vote, they didn't see their vote as a vote for Donald Trump. They saw them as I don't see anything for me in this arena right now. And I think while us political animals say that if you didn't vote, you voted for Donald Trump, that is not how people who are starving, people who are living without their basic needs met, that is not what they saw. So when you ask what their political home is, their political home, I bet if you talk to most of those people who didn't see themselves in the 2024 election cycle, if you ask them questions not about names like Medicare for all, but about policies. Now, if you don't say universal basic income, but if you say, do you believe every human deserves to have a home or something, I bet you these people fall in line with progressive ideas. So I think their home. I mean, when you ask me that question, where is their political home? It's with progressive ideas. Progressive ideas. And I think the Democratic Party is not presenting ideas right now.
Okay. So I agree with the last statement. I agree with everything you just said. And I by no means will ever think that a non-vote is a vote for a Republican, because a non-vote sometimes is a vote for the establishment Democrat. And in San Francisco, a non-vote is a vote for a progressive. Right? Like it is what it is. And I also agree with that the political home is progressive ideals. The only thing I don't know if that is based in or outside of what we got going on right now. Like I wrote up a budget for it, Mondale. I'm gonna send it to you. I wrote up a budget of how much it would cost to change leadership of the party from statewide up and down the ballot in places that have non-political progressive leadership, statewide, nationally, how to get the delegates. I spent a lot of time on this, right? And I targeted about 36, 37 states. And it's going to be a very expensive venture. And the reason why it is, unless there's like a natural movement that happens, is because of one thing and one thing alone. And that is, hey, folks, your local Democratic Party, from the local Democratic Party all the way up to voting for the state chair, all the way up to voting for to sending your 5, 10, whatever delegates to the national convention, right? This is to galvanize somebody in the SWATs and somebody in South Phoenix. And even though I think Arizona's on the right path. That's just my thought process. And to galvanize somebody in South Carolina, right? Who is a progressive thinking person who looks at Jim Clyburn like you're shit, right? That is an expensive venture on its own. And it could either be galvanized by a progressive candidate or figure, or it could be galvanized outside of that, right? But it's going to be the same amount of money and the same amount of work, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I'll send it to you.
I would argue that it ain't that. Listen, I'm telling you, because I was thinking, Who can I find to run against Hakeem Jeffries in 2022? Just to show them that your power ain't your power. Dude, Slim won his primary. It was only 24,000 people voted in that. I'm gonna keep calling up numbers so people can see how easy this is. That man won his primary. He's number one in the Democratic House. 23,000 votes. We're not playing games. We're not, and to organize in New York is cheaper and easier than it is anywhere else. And people don't understand that. Because you got thousands of people right in buildings. Canvassing in New York is the easiest place to canvass. Canvassing for a congressional district in New York is easier than canvassing for a congressional district in Mississippi, where it's spread out in rural. And I think people don't even consider like the work that can be done in those spaces. But I think we are playing. We're calculating using their math. If we didn't, we would rethink on what is expensive. Because I think it's more expensive to lose elections and let these moderates be in power than it is to do anything else. I think it's more expensive for us to continue to play the race or run the race the way they are. I think it's more expensive for us to let them win the primary and then a Republican beat them in the general election. I think that's more expensive for our people. I think that's more taxing on our people. So for me, I think if we put our heads down and got serious about this primaries and challenging them, we could shake the world by just beating two of these so-called leadership Democrats real quick and getting rid of them.
Are there any races you could do that in?
Yeah.
And get a double whammy against MAGA?
Absolutely.
We got a buddy running against Sanford Bishop. Mondale.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We absolutely do.
And I mean, that's going to be a proving ground right there.
But I was going to say the double whammy is get a progressive. Here's what was the pilot of my election. My election was supposed to be just like show people what's possible, right? Let's show people what's possible in rural spaces with progressives, right? So, and what I'm trying to tell people is the double whammy is get a progressive to beat one of these milquetoast Democrats in a district that people think is purple, and then whoop the hell out of one of these MAGA people. That's what's possible by winning a primary.
Wait, okay, so purple district, right? Purple district. Why not have an independent run and take votes and independents, voters from Democrats, voters from Republicans, and independents, and actually have a longer period of time for a progressive to actually spit their viewpoints out and get supporters. I mean, I'm not going against you just to go against you, but it's just like, if it's a purple district, that means that it's red and blue, right? Like Dan Osborne almost won, and that definitely wasn't no purple district. They could have done a better job with getting Democrats, actually. And Chuck Schumer told them to go after, by the way, Chuck Schumer told Dan Osborne's campaign to go after to go after Republicans and don't say anything to the Democrats that would have won him the election. Therefore, Democrats stayed home in Nebraska. That is my question for you, Mondale. Like, why not an independent who has more time to express themselves, gain money, and get people to support him?
Listen, here's my thing. I am as loud as I am, as radical as I am in my policies. I am an institutional strategist. And what I mean by that is I am looking for the easiest route to power for people who are unheard and unseen. And I think the independent route to me has not shown as the easiest route to power for Black and brown people, marginalized people in this country. It is not very true. I understand in other political structures in other countries, the idea of third parties and fourth and fifth parties and forming coalitions makes sense. But in this world, in the United States of America, that is something that is not baked in and will not be in this two-party democracy, right? Like we're not gonna be able to call elections because of the parliamentary style. It's not the nature of this beast that we call American democracy. What we can do though is go ahead, Ben.
No, I was going to say that, and the not to get so philosophical with it, but the struggle is with the people themselves, not even the particular party, right? It's the amassing of power to themselves, and we see that even in like the Green Party. We see this with independent parties. It's looking for a solution in another problematic container. The problem is the same phenomenon that we're going to see. It's just at extremes. With MAGA, it's the extreme, and then with the Democrats, it's their own version of keeping and maintaining power. It would be the same thing with any other party. And so it is something that we need something new. We do need something new besides these same party system that fails us. But in the meantime, till we get there, I agree with Mundell. Like, trying to do it through an independent party has proven time and time and again, even with the Dem exit back in 2020, what the Green Party only got 1% of the national vote.
Yeah, it was a low amount, and I ain't got nothing against the Greens. Listen, I ain't
got nothing against Greens. Oh, I ain't got nothing against.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Wait, let me finish.
Go ahead.
The only thing I'm saying about this whole conversation is I don't want to get 2036, Lord willing, I'm living that long, 2032, whatever, and then we still having the same conversation, and we should have left a long time ago. I don't want to do that. After we've done this style for 40 years, right? Like, we've done.
Can you
hold on? Let me finish.
I'm on clarity because I don't want to listen to the rest of what you got to say and not understand what you just said. When you say we've done this style for the last 40 years, what do you mean?
We've run the style of the huge money in politics wins elections, and the gatekeeping class keeping the gate wide open for what they need and not for the American people. We gonna mess around and get 30 years down the road, and Ben, when your kids are 28, 29, they're gonna be like, why the hell did you stay in that party? I don't want that to happen. I don't.
Okay.
I fundamentally, like, at some point, every relationship ends, whether someone dies or they break up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At some point, every relationship ends. My question for you two is, when is the relationship over?
I tell you. I'm gonna mess with both of y'all. I would rather see black folks go to the Republican Party than to try to do it through the independent party.
That's fair. It's different.
It's only because institutional power.
And I'm not talking about independent party.
Say it again, Ben.
I would, in terms of power and in terms of being able to wield our voting block, I could see us doing more damage in the Republican Party than being able to do anything with an independent party. Like going and starting a third party, that doesn't serve black power.
I'm just saying, being independent voters, man. I don't care if you're independent and you go and everybody decides to go to, well, I mean, some primary, you can't vote in a Democratic primary, so you can't choose, right? So, I mean, it matters where you're at. It just matters where it is. And I think that at this point, two things need to happen. And that is the Congressional Black Caucus start holding back their votes for some of the things that we need, because I see how quick that they assign and they vote for everybody else's issue, but won't hold back their votes for our own issues, right? And it's like, where are our earmarks, man? Where are our earmarks? Where's our reparations earmark?
Where's the pressure that could be put on? Where is the outside pressure?
There's no pressure
being applied to any of these.
There's no pressure when all Chuck Schumer has to say is, Negro, go vote for this, and they go. Up until he messed up.
Where is the people? Where is the voice of the black community to be able to tell the CBC that? And my thinking is without external pressure, being able to move the community, the black voice like that to make a demand, it doesn't matter who we put in there. They go and do what they want to do.
Agreed. Hey, folks, you're still watching Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap, your once a week show on politics and everything we discuss as three black men. Again, you're rocking with the best, Pastor Benjamin Dixon, Mayor Mondale Robinson, and I am Marcus Farrell, live on YouTube. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to the Clickbaity channel, Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap channel. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the Marcus Farrell Live channel. And if you have not, please subscribe to the Ben Dixon channel here on YouTube. We need you to like and share so these algorithms pick up other people. We need other people to get the information that you're hearing. So whenever you like and you share, that means that other folks who need to hear this information can hear this information. Again, you're watching Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap, man. Ben, I do want to talk about this leak audio before we go into Jasmine. Can we talk about this?
Well, the audio is fraud, though.
Not leak audio, the leak text, the leak plans that were sent to the.
I don't even think we should. I think, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I don't want to leave our people in an incomplete state. So I think the beauty of Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap is the name first, because it makes you think we're about some silly shit. And while we joke a lot on this show, we actually are sharing things that people aren't talking about in a real way in political spaces. So I wanted to make sure before we moved on, Marcus and Ben, if y'all don't mind, Ben, can you please check our group chat and post that article, not so that we can read it right now, but so we can leave it for our people, so that this is what they leave, that that's this hour conversation we just had about the minutia of elections and winning elections. Can we please leave this with our people? Because I think people need to understand that as long as our mind, like sometimes you can't see shit that you ain't never seen before. I know this is not true or may not be true, but I've heard it several times of how like the native people didn't or couldn't see the boats when Christopher Columbus pulled up because they had never seen boats before. I know that was bullshit, but what I'm saying is what I want people to think about is, if we only understand the framework from their standpoint, then we're only going to act in that manner. Meaning we're going to not have conversation with poor people about why they should run for office, not have conversation with working poor people why they can win an election. So I think people should, if they leave with anything out that hour we just spent, they should leave with that money cannot buy elections if work is equal. What we do know, though, is like if somebody is already popular and famous, then they get more money. So people thinking, oh, they won because they had more money, but they ain't counting that this person already had more name recognition.
Organic support. Yeah.
Right, well, exactly. So what we need to be doing is how do we create organic support name recognitions for candidates?
That part.
Especially in spaces where we can't match because I think if you think about the 2016 election cycle, incumbents that lost elections spent more money than their challengers that beat them. Challengers that won against incumbents, I think, averaged, and this is on the average congressional election. This was 2016. They spent like 1.4 million, whereas the incumbents spent 1.8 or 1.9 million. So I'm telling people, organic and also name recognition and work is equal, damn near to a 60-70% increase to what money is for incumbents. So let's keep that in mind, guys, when we're thinking about what it means to challenge people. Go ahead, Ben.
Can we get funding to just do that anyway for our own database and then roll it out for whoever black candidate we choose? Can that just exist as a regular, like we have black door knockers just going to recruit and create a nationwide database?
It should literally be paid for. You know what I'm saying? We spending money on candidates, but if we spent money year round, just paid people year round to knock on doors and have conversation and ask their people, what's ailing you? Not saying, hey, I'm here from this party or that. What's ailing you? And just take notes. Don't have a reason, or don't interrupt someone's feeling. Let people feel, right? Let people feel. And then just take that note and just visit them 2 or 3 more times before you offer any fucking advice.
Come on, man.
What they said is wrong. Just listen to people. People have been unheard so long in our political institutions that being heard is a novel idea that can win elections. Hear me saying that. Letting people be heard is a novel idea that will win elections.
Come on, man.
Answers. Just listen to them and then pay people to get it done. And if we did that, man, first of all, we wouldn't be bragging about a 61% turnout. We'll be bragging about the
90%.
fact that we'll be bragging that 80% of the people who hadn't voted in the last 3 elections voted in the next election. That's what will happen if we did year-round canvassing that is culturally competent, that is not asking people or trying to sell people on a party loyalty.
Candidate.
You understand what I'm saying? So I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right on that. I just wanted people to leave knowing what we're talking about here. We have to disprove the shit that has already been disproven by facts. And we do that by not buying into the narratives of stupid ass pundits on mainstream media that have never worked on a campaign, that have never turned out a black, brown, or gay, or lesbian, or trans vote, right? Or immigrant vote. We don't need to listen to these people. They can't do what we do. People brag about or listen to David Axelrod as if he's anything other than hot air. This man had a campaign that they spent millions of dollars registering, millions of new voters, and all of them, damn near except for 10% of them, turned out. So this idea that they know something, and they will not give credit to Howard Dean, but Howard Dean's model is what Obama stole.
That's right. That's right.
He stole Howard Dean's model, and he didn't blow up like Howard Dean did. Period. So that's what I wanted to say before we get to that. So, but go ahead, guys.
Cheap plug down there. Marcus Sparrow live on YouTube. Go ahead, go there.
Not right now. Don't go there right now.
Don't go there right now, but you'll still find Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap live on Marcus Sparrow right now. But still, go there and check out how you can run for office with no money and win. I made a video on it, folks. And it's important that more regular people were involved. I completely agree with you. I got a comment from Angie Lofton. Angie Lofton says, "Leave the light off, Mayor. I love the chocolatey look."
Turning another light on. Listen, I'm not. Marcus is trouble.
Hey, lead it.
Stop it, Marcus. Win. Let's go to listen. What I was going to say was when Marcus brought up the next topic, we need to stop calling this a leak. This ain't no leak. This is somebody in the group chat talking about the group chat. This ain't no leak. This person was in the group chat. So let's get into it because we need to really talk about this because
we skipped over the darkness.
We stop it.
Darkness.
Stop it.
So darkness, everybody. Darkness.
She loved the chocolatey. That's a word.
Man, my wife to peep her head around this computer 7 times, man.
She gonna load the shotgun. Marcus still out. Slow down on that.
All right, bail out. Alley-oop to the bailout.
Yes, sir. Abort.
So what I'm saying is, listen, guys, let's ground this in historical fact. Donald Trump launched a successful presidential campaign with the help of an investigation from the Department of Justice into Hillary Clinton's emails. This is worse than that.
Yep.
This is worse than that, guys. And everybody that was on that chain said something about prosecuting and locking Hillary Clinton up. The stupidity, guys, that go fast and break things is beyond just Doge. And we see that right now. The idea that anybody, had there been an irresponsible journalist in that chat other than JG, right? Anybody else would have posted or could have posted all of that information, and it could have been in Yemen, or somebody could have hacked any of those phones, and that information would have been in Yemen, and they could have been waiting for those jets to shoot them down. They knew what type of artillery they were going to use. They knew which sites they were going to hit. They knew which people they were looking for. This is the biggest. This is the biggest security breach of any of our lives, and we're not talking about it. The news cycle is going to blow over it like it's not what it is because Donald Trump and Republicans are acting as if it's not what it is. Yeah. This is the biggest security breach of our lives. Someone please tell me, if the Republicans and if so many people wanted Julian Assange locked up, then they should damn well want everybody. And we can't wait on these people who have no dignity because Shapiq should have started today with a resignation letter. We didn't get that. We should have had a resignation. The vice president was on that chain. We should have had resignation letters dropping out the sky, and we didn't. because there's no dignity in this administration. There's no dignity in our politics right now. And the
Facts.
fact that the Democratic Party is willing to go along with this makes them co-conspirators in this BS.
That part.
I think right now nothing in DC should be normal. There should be a stoppage of all business as normal talking about this. Every Democrat sitting in the Senate or in the House should do nothing but be on the floor talking about this, because this is dangerous. And I promise you, if this is the signal chat that we know about, what are the 100 we don't?
I like that part where you said that they go fast, the idea to go fast and break stuff. And they celebrate that as a culture. They celebrate that as a successful culture when they've had to go back and backtrack and try to repair stuff that they destroyed. And it just shows how much permission white people get, particularly white men, get to just ruin stuff and then still come out and get credit and get promoted. Much like the Democratic consulting class, when you really start to think about it, there's something in the water of white people across this country that lets them just do whatever they want to do, particularly if you're conservative, do whatever you want to do and not be held accountable for it. Part of it is because of Teflon Don and the news cycle being so fast, right? The news cycle, but MAGA has also mastered the art of ensuring that nothing gets to stay in the news cycle. And that shows the inability of Democrats and people who are not MAGA, not just Democrats, but people who are not MAGA. It shows our inability to command a narrative. Because if we had the ability to command a narrative, we would make this shit stick on them like stank on shit.
Right. So in Culture Vulture Killer, you said which Democrat is going along with this like it's normal, or like it's good, like it's not bad. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I mean, we didn't see a million press conference. We didn't see anybody. All interviews. Democrats should have been requesting interviews on all major news today. They've been
tweeting about it. They've been tweeting about it. That's it.
They should be everywhere talking about this. In Congress, nobody should be able to do business as usual. Right now we are the party of resistance. We have to be the party of resistance because we are out of power in both branches of, both houses and also the executive branch. So we should be screaming about it. But the idea that this is not what's going on, we spent half the day watching these Republicans make people focus on the Hot Wheel coming from Crockett, right? So people talking about the Hot Wheels coming and responding to that. David Axelrod is spending time talking about talking about the Crockett coming, but he ain't got this fire for Donald Trump's administration.
Right.
He got the fire to tell her conversation was tasteless. Is it not tasteless to be texting about war? Is it not tasteless for Democrats to send me an email today from James Carville? Don't talk to me about tasteless when you're doing business as normal. Every email should be about how do we press this? Is it not tasteless from while this is happening? Mike Johnson still being comfortable enough, the Speaker of the House being comfortable enough to float the idea that we need to get rid of the federal judiciary. Right now in this moment, you got the Speaker of the House talking about getting rid of all the federal judges because they don't like them people standing in their way. That's what I mean about democratic failure.
These guys are weak. I think that first off, let's talk about the war plan. Right. I want to start talking about let's talk about war real quick. Right. War is not good. War is not good. Right. Like it's just not good. So understand something, folks. There is a plan right now from the current administration to go ahead and just chuck $300 billion somewhere else of American money. Think about that. Like, let's forget the plan. Let's forget the fact that it leaked, right? Let's talk about them being bad stewards of American money by having a preemptive plan to start a war. That part, like that's the important part. They are talking about war, right? They're not talking about best ways to negotiate peace. They're not talking about best ways to negotiate keeping American money in America. They're not talking about the best ways to increase and change, right, the revenue stream of this economy so we won't be going down and down and down and down. No. They're talking about spending more money. So check this out. They want to cut all the benefits of everything and still go to war. Meanwhile, the price of eggs in Atlanta went up from $6.20 to $7.
But if you ask Donald Trump, people, the eggs are down. Don't keep lying, Marcus. Eggs prices are down. But if you go to Waffle House, Marcus, if you go to Waffle House, they got a 50-cent sticker on the menu saying every egg you order is a 50-cent upcharge due to price.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even lying. I was so
no,
mad.
it's real. So I mean, guys, like I want yo.
I
don't lie. That's a 50-cent upcharge per egg, dog, in the Waffle House.
Wait. Put it back.
But Donald Trump tell me that eggs prices are down.
It's and you know, this go back to what you were saying at the beginning of the show, though.
Marcus. I didn't even get my eggs, boy. Get my Texas cheesesteak steak though. Hash brown scatter, smothered, covered, and doubled, diced and top. Better know it.
Sound like you could do those Waffle House calls pretty good, man.
Pull 2 meats. Hash brown scattered, smothered. I could call it. I could call an order, bro.
Marcus, let's go back to what you were saying earlier, man. The one thing that's certainly happening right now is a power play to coalesce, to galvanize and coalesce progressive energy into the Democratic mainstream. I see that with Midas Touch, that media company sharing Bernie and AOC streams last week. The entire rally. They cover the entire rally, cover to cover. And so it is but then you have Rahm Emanuel getting back in the conversation. You have the Gavin Newsom, going to talk to Charlie Kirk and then bringing on Steve Bannon on his platform. They're trying to coalesce power around this same comfortable neoliberal position. And I absolutely think that if we let them in this hour when they are the weakest that they have ever been, that's really a shame on us, man. I think we have to have a strategy to remove the neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party once and for all. And it's got to happen before. It's got to happen. It's got to happen in tandem to everything else that's happening in 2026 and beyond.
Agreed. Look, it's really simple. Democrats probably have done these same things. It just wasn't intentionally leaked. And we're not doing a good job with our narrative across the board. You got Fetterman right now, who is basically saying, shut up to progressives, right? You got the establishment Democrats who all have the same talking points, and whoever writes them just gives them all the same thing, and they say the exact same thing, and they're not talking about this situation, right? So at the end of the day, man, what do we have, right? We have a country that is going to go to war. That was the one thing I was giving Trump. Even though we're already at war by proxy, bombing innocent civilians in the Gaza Strip, right? But us as a country, we weren't at war. But you got to understand something. Look at who is
Marcus. We weren't at war when
right now.
Right now, technically,
okay.
Yeah, technically we're not at war. But if we look at it and look at who is leading the Department of Defense, from having issues like trying to kick people out for having pseudofolliculitis. Now, by the way, that's only black people. To also now trying to start a war in another country where they have people of color in it, right? Start a war with someone. The military machine hasn't been fed in a long time, but have been spending a lot of money, and they want to see their new toys in action. Please believe me, the Defense Department is scrambling, trying to figure out the best way that we can get American military might over in somebody else's country to say that we won. And why do they want to say that? Well, you got to think about one thing. Our economy is tanking. The best way for you to get your brain off of your pockets is to start a war. American unity. They want to make America great again. And this is what you do by making America great in their eyes. America is great when we have an enemy, when we have an other, when we have a problem, when we have a bad guy. And that's what's going on right now.
Who's the bad guy?
whoever they fuck they can figure out. Sorry, excuse my language.
This is true.
I think America. I think this idea of make America great again. We should really. There should be classes about. There should be classes about whiteness, right? And how fragile whiteness is. Like this idea that America has never not had an enemy in white America's eyes. During slavery, the enemy was the revolting slave. During Reconstruction, the enemy was the loose black man that was going to rape their woman. During the period where they're trying to end segregation, the civil rights era, it was the pimp black man. During the 80s, it was the drug dealing black man, even though Reagan was the biggest drug dealer with his little arms deal, but we don't need to talk about that. So I think America had always had one consistent enemy. The problem is we gave away the actual power, the real power, to say that America has never seen us as anything but an enemy for so long that people thought the Black Lives Matter movement was something new. There was an entire generation of people that didn't know that black people were still out here fighting. And I see it on Twitter all the time. All these people who live on Twitter, and what I mean by live on Twitter is their only interaction with black protest or black organization or organizing is for spaces on Twitter. These people actually believe that there are no black people doing work to liberate black folk. And I think that only exists in a world where we give away so much of our shit. Black people aren't controlling the narrative about what it means to be black and
That part.
establishment.
That's where we got to seize the power, man. If we don't seize that power right there and we don't seize it to the tune of millions of black people, then two things are going to happen. Somebody else will always be able to dictate what blackness is. And then, well, we'll just always be beholden to whenever the Democratic Party cuts on their organizing power for us.
I mean, it is so crazy that if you look at what people call leaders, I'm so glad Marcus didn't even misspeak today when he said Miss Leadership Class, because that is powerful. We don't have a black leadership class in this moment. And I'm kind of okay with that. What I'm not okay with is the fact that we don't have a black media apparatus.
Come on.
Speaking. And people, this is not a diss on Roland. Roland is a thing. Roland is one. A black media apparatus means you speak to all of America's blackness. And that don't exist. That don't exist.
And Mondale, just another point to what you just said. And black media doesn't mean establishment black talking points. Black media doesn't even mean
it's the exact opposite.
Talking points.
It's the exact opposite.
Black media doesn't even mean excluding Republicans. Because let me tell you something, a real conservative has some decent, not all the time, but some decent financial ideas for their own America. Everyone has good points and bad points, but Black America is more than just one structured thought process of what Jim Clyburn says about Black America needs to be. Check the messages, guys.
Sorry, though. You gotta.
Yeah, I gotta go. I got something I gotta handle with my family. I'll see y'all. Yep.
All right. We'll wrap it up too here.
All right. Ben, you want to say something before we wrap it up?
Nah, man, we can bring it on. No, listen, the last thing you said is really important, man. Black media, black power. We need to get off the matter of fact, let's talk offline before we still tell all the ideas in public.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think people forget that, the black church that wasn't organizing too doesn't exist anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an institution, I'm not saying that they're not individual churches where people organize. That's not what I'm saying. But as an institution, I don't know what that radical church is. I don't know where the people been. Who's gonna do what the church used to do? When I'm talking about I'm talking about denominations. Like we're the black, we're the black Baptists. They're gonna speak like Martin Luther King did.
I was just
gonna call out. What you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was just meeting with some, and I don't know, man. I because they have the capacity to. They have the capacity to do it. They still have members. They still have reach into their audiences. They still have deep reach into their communities. And I think it's the same thing, man. I think when I say we, I'm almost talking about us, but Black folks are going to have to reach in and organize ourselves. And that is going to include having to organize either with or around the Black church.
Listen, let me someone's Ford 8484 said, as an agnostic, I always thought the Black churches actually follow Jesus. You guys obviously have better insight, though. I mean, like, there's a Black Jesus that exists for sure. We know that. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is this lack of lack of fight that exists. And Jesus was a fighter. I don't care what nobody said. Like, I mean, where's the thought that said, that led us to believe, right? Baldwin said what? There must be, in order to understand Jesus, this wasn't Baldwin, I'm sorry, this is Cone. You must understand the lynching tree. You can't understand Jesus and the cross without understanding the lynching tree. That Black church is what's missing in this moment. So I think for me, and I think that's what I'm longing for. I'm longing for, like, the idea that we organize in that manner again, and that organization, like you said, do happen offline before it's all in the public. And I think we need to get back to a point where we're comfortable knowing that we don't need mainstream media talking about this. We don't need, as long as we get the Ida B. Wells of the world talking about it, right? The Ben Dixon of the world talking about it, the Roland Martins of the world talking about it. That's enough. These people looking for solitude and BALM from mainstream media. You're living in a world that's fanciful. That has never been what it means to exist in America for as a Black person.
To
exist in this world as a Black person, to exist in this America as a Black person, you're obligated to know that your messaging comes through the grapevine and the songs of the plantation.
Come on, man.
Not from the headlines of New York Times and Wall Street Journal.
And maybe we do pick this up offline, man, because my next question gonna be like, then what structurally do you need? Does your organization need? Does an organization that we know of that needs to be able to scale that? Because we're really just talking. It's we got the knowledge, right? We got the knowledge of how to canvas every corner, how to take the data and find us exactly where we are. We know how to find a person underneath the shade tree because they liked something on Twitter 3 weeks ago, right? We got all the metrics, but what is it in terms of capacity that is it just more money?
Honestly, Ben, I'm going to be honest with you. What I feel like Black Male Voter Project is going to kindergarten, right? I'm actually about to go to first grade right now.
What you mean?
It's a 6-year-old organization.
Oh, wow.
I am still the exec. I founded this organization. I'm still the executive director. I feel dirty about that. There are 2 generations of voters younger than me. Why the hell am I still at the helm of this organization? So when people ask me what do I need, I'm not one of those people trying to figure out how to make Black Male Voter Project bigger. What Black Male Voter Project need is for people to attend and buy into the training that we're doing at the Black Male Equity, right? That Black Male Equity organization is trying to train people in different states so that Black Male Voter Project does not need to be a national organization anymore. What I need is more people to tap into the ways and understand what we do at Black Male Voter Project so they can become the Black Male Voter Project for Black men in their state. That's what we need. I think we need to do away with, this is my way of thinking. There shouldn't be a single national Black engagement organization in this damn country. Not a single one. It should be local work. The deacons in Mississippi were not a national organization. The Black Panthers in Chicago were not doing what the Black Panthers in Oakland were doing. The Black Panthers in Oakland were not doing what the Black Panthers in LA were doing. I think we have lost what it means because people want to be, capital B-E, and not care about the B attitudes. And I think we've lost it because we value fame, light, and not knowledge. Like I tell people all the time, I don't own anything I know and learn from this work. I'm willing to share it with anybody. so that Black Male Voter Project does not exist. My object is, in a couple cycles, Black Male Voter Project should be some shit we talk about in the past tense, because there's so many organizations doing this work with so many younger people leading them that I don't even need to talk about Black Male Voter Project, but for it being a catalyst for all the shit that's happening around Black men at this moment. Right? The Black Male Voter Project, the Black Male Vote, yes, the Black Male Voter Project for Montana needs to include the 242 Black men that are registered there. Right? The Black Male Voter Project in Hawaii needs to be the 1,000 or so Black men that are registered there. You know what I'm saying? It don't need to be this national organization speaking on our behalf.
Decentralization, man. Decentralized.
It also forces, it also, you know what it does when it's decentralized, Ben? It also puts the power back in local hands, where people are obligated to be in community, which means you automatically eliminate the transactional nature. You know how easy or possible it is that somebody might be offended that Black Male Voter Project ain't sent them a text message or asked them how they're doing since 2024, because it's 9.6 million Black men registered to vote in this country. Or knock on, it costs $8 to knock on a door, right? That's what it costs. So imagine trying to knock on, 7 million or 8 million doors times 8 one time. You understand what I'm saying? That work is bastardized by people believing that Black Male Voter Project should be the only org doing that. What we want to do at Black Male Voter Project is make Black Male Voter Project a North Carolina or a Georgia-based organization, and that's it. And then train up organizations like Melvin Brown's Boom in Maryland, like Anton Ritter's Black Men Reach organization in Virginia. You understand what I'm saying? We don't need to be in all these states where other people are. So what we're doing is we're taking our resources, pointed into these organizations so that they exist in a way that's healthy and also they can grow. That's all.
That's the way to do it, man. That's the way that keeps power from it's all about power, man. Yeah. And for you to keep the resources, for you to keep that organization all to yourself, creates a bottleneck of power in you. And by you doing it the opposite way, being an incubator, you're releasing power from you to other entities.
Yeah, that's right. Ford 8484, I'm a mayor in Enfield, North Carolina, ENFINLD, North Carolina, a little rural town in the eastern part of the state. But yeah, Ben, I think that's right, man. And I think for me, Clickbaity has always been a Northern Star. And I know people say it's only one Northern Star. I think that is a problem. Ben Dixon's channel is a Northern Star. Ben, you know how I show up for you. I continue always want to show up like that. I think it's important that we know that if we're not lifting up our institution, if I'm paying a streaming service and I'm not paying Ben Dixon, then I can't tell him I'm caring about Black liberation. So anybody that has a YouTube TV or Netflix or Amazon or any of these streaming services, and you don't pay a portion or the same amount to Ben Dixon, then you're not truly committed to Black liberation. I know that because you're not spreading, or you're not helping spread the word, the salt, so that God's people are getting it. So people understand. So people on Twitter can't say there are no Black people fighting or standing up for us. Because when you hear Ben Dixon's voice, then you also get Rebecca Azor. You also get other voices like mine and Marcus. And those spaces are important. Those voices are important, even if we don't agree all the time. It's important that people hear Black people out here with political point of views beyond what people think are democratic shields, is what I think this is the word they're using right now. But that don't happen where we're not committed to our movement. We should be committed to our movement first. The reason the bus boycott was so successful, it wasn't because of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King couldn't keep a movement going. It was other people. Joanne Robinson organized that. She printed all that paperwork. Her and other women printed all that stuff out, got that stuff going. We need to make sure that people have the resources. Ben Dixon's network, other networks have the resources so as to ensure that other voices can be heard, so that people can hear diversity and see themselves. Because I might say something that would never resonate with something that Rebecca could say in the morning, and everybody feel it.
That part.
I think if we're not supporting wholeheartedly, then we're doing a disservice. That's all. I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna bid you adieu. on
Your
that.
lips to God's ear, man. Hey,
Yeah,
we're
man.
gonna close it out here. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Y'all put up some acorns as we get out of here, and we'll see you next time.
Trap squad, 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 trap squad. Hey, clickbaity political. Yeah, thirst trap, trap squad, squirrel squad. Our mission is critical to speak the truth to the masses. We here for the fight. We ain't started, but we here to finish it. Sick and tired of seeing the privilege. Take advantage of the weak and the innocent. So we let our voice be heard. Every single weeknight, unapologetic. Black people, despite this white supremacist system that we live through on a daily, we still throwing up those acorns cause we represent clickbaity. Trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, let me hear ya. Trap squad, trap squad, throw those squirrels up if you with it. Trap squad, trap squad, yeah I see you, yeah I see you. Trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, thirst trap, trap squad, trap squad, trap squad, let me hear ya. Trap squad, trap squad, throw those squirrels up if you with it.